So what we have here is a Dura 9100 pedal, and we're going to look at the maintenance of these. The 9000 pedal is almost identical, so the same applies to that pedal as well. And to make a start, you basically just need to undo this lock nut here, and this is 20mm. I've actually made a kind of thin spanner to fit that because it needs to be quite thin. So you just place it on the lock nut like that. Now, albeit this is a right hand pedal which threads normally into the crank the normal way, these lock nuts go the other way, and the left hand pedal will unthread the normal way. So it's kind of the reverse of how they thread into the cranks. So to loosen this, I'm going to turn it like that. There we go. And once it's loose, you can also, by the way, if you don't have the right spanner, you can just put this part into a vise and then just turn the whole pedal body. That also works. So just undo the axle like that, and be careful that you hold the pedal upright like this, because the bearings are quite loose in here. You'll see in a minute. You don't want them bouncing around everywhere. So take the pedal body off like that, and then you can see the axle, and you can see the bearings in there, which will pop out if you let them. So just check inside the pedal body that there's no bearings have jumped out or that are in there, and basically what you need to do is just clean out as best you can the pedal body, get rid of all the old dirty grease, and clean out this whole area too where the bearings are. Now you can remove all the bearings completely and have a complete deep clean if you want to, but it's quite fiddly, and I would just recommend that you just flush them through with a degreaser and then re-grease them. It's probably less time consuming. Well, I did in fact take some of these bearings out, and just for be able to clean them a little bit better. If you want to do it really properly, remove this circlip here, but you need just the right size circlip pliers, and circlips are always a little bit dodgy. They can break. So just to be able to ride my bike for sure tomorrow, I just shook the bearings out, and it makes it easier to clean inside this area here. And then just this is slightly magnetic, this screwdriver. But you can just use a little screwdriver dipped in grease to hold the bearing, and you just pop them back in where there's a little hole here, the gap in the circlip. And it's a bit fiddly, but they'll all go in the end. There's 17 of them. So to re-grease your bearings, just encourage a bit of grease to go into the gap and squeeze it in there, and you can rotate it a little bit and push it up and down to encourage it. Make sure that your balls are all covered nicely, as they say. And then just wipe off the excess. Right, so to reassemble, make sure you've got a little bit of grease on the end here, because that's where the other bearing sits. This here is just a thrust bearing, so that's the difference between this and the 9000. And then take the axle, insert it in gently at the end, and then screw it in again. Remember, it screws in the wrong way. This is the right hand pedal, and maintain a sort of upward pressure as you do it, because it just makes sure that all the bearings are sitting nicely like that. And then the tricky part of this whole operation is just getting the right tension. Now what you want to do is make sure, and as you rock the pedal backwards and forwards, there's no play, but you also need to not over tighten the bearings so they're not graunchy. So it's just basically a bit of trial and error, fiddling with this lock nut here, until you find the right balance, basically. So here it's a little bit too loose, so I'm going to tighten it like that, See how that feels. Yeah, and basically just keep going until you find just the right setting, and then you can take your spanner and tighten the lock nut down, and you're good to go.